Hi, good morning, and welcome back to this accounting channel. And as for today's lesson, I will try to explain about the purchases journal. Yeah, I have already explained about the sales journal, the sales return journal, and now, and on this occasion, I will try to explain the purchases journal as part of book of original entry or book of prime entry. Now we know that the sales journal are made from the viewpoint of a supplier. Now, in the case of purchases journal, we're gonna change our viewpoint from the supplier to the customers. Now we act as a customer. We're changing roles. Yeah, we're changing roles. Now we are the customers instead of a supplier. Okay, now as a customer, we're gonna buy things or items from the suppliers. Yeah, and sometimes the purchase that are made with the suppliers are made in credit. Okay, so purchases journal again, it is used to pick a purchase from the suppliers on credit. So the customer hasn't paid the supplier yet. Okay, so it's called a credit purchases. Now, credit purchases will be indicated by the issuing document from the supplier, that is the invoice. Okay, so the supplier issue an invoice that will be sent to the customer, and the customer will use it to record it on his purchases journal or purchases book. Okay, again, I want to emphasize that this purchases journal is merely a book, a list book of a supplier. Yeah, so it is a book that the customer keeps to list the name of the supplier he's doing business with. Okay, or he was buying stuffs with. And then the information contains in it is supplier name, of course, and then the value of the transaction as well as the date when the transaction takes place. Okay. Now, in the next slide, I will show you the format of the purchases journal as well as the ledger. Yeah, there will be two ledger that will be used. Yeah, one is the supplier's ledger and the other one is the purchases ledger. Okay, now take a look at your book on page 82. Yeah, page 82. 7.4, number 1, when goods are purchased on credit. When goods are purchased on credit, we will put the information on this purchases book or purchases journal. This is purchases journal or purchases book. On the business name, you will need to replace it with your business name. So for example, if you are selling burger and your business name is Jack Burger, so you will replace it with your own business name, that is the Jack Burgers. And the date of the transaction, let's just say it's on the 2nd of June, year 2020, and the name of supplier, we will use the example of PT A. So you buy a bun or a bread, yeah, or a burger bread from this PT A. And don't forget to include the invoice number, because if you don't have any invoices number, then you cannot pay to the supplier, and the supplier cannot also collect the money from you, because they don't know which payment is it made. Yeah, which payment do you want to pay, because the invoice number will indicate what payment that you will pay and what kind of items that you bought in the first place from the supplier. It lists the items that you bought in the first place from the supplier. So include the invoice name, for example, is I501, and then leave the folio blank for now, and the amount. Yeah, what is the amount of your purchases from the supplier? Let's just say you make a purchases worth $150. Okay, so there you have it. So you have listed your first transactions with PTA, and the invoice number is I501 with the amount sum up to $150. Now after that, take a look at number 2. The second part of number 1, credit the supplier's account in the purchases ledger. Now, before I show you the step to record these transactions, I need to show you the basic transactions first. Okay, I'll change the slide here because it's still quite empty. Whenever the customers make a purchase to the suppliers on credit, the double entry system will look like this. On the debit side, it will be the purchases account. On the credit side, of course, because the customers buy it on credit, then we will put the liabilities. Okay, why in credit? Because liabilities increasing on credit, and purchases increasing on debit. Okay, so now because I want to make it easier for me to track, yeah, as a customer, to track down with whom I have debt with, yeah, with whom I have debt with, I just changed these liabilities to supplier's name. Okay, so that I know how many debts that I have that I need to pay to this supplier, how many debt that I have to pay to that supplier. So it will be listed, yeah, specifically to this particular supplier. Okay, so back to the next slide. So in this purchases ledger, yeah, this one is a purchases ledger or simply ledger. Just change the supplier name into your supplier's name. For example, is PT A. Okay, and since PT A is also the same like liabilities, therefore you need to record this $150 on the credit side of this PTA's account or PTA's ledger. Yeah, that is 2nd of June year 2020. The details would be purchases, and the amount is $150. Okay, now number 2, at the end of the month. Yeah, now we're moving to at the end of the month. Debit the purchases account in a nominal ledger with the purchases journal total. Okay, let's just assume this is the total amount of purchases book, of your purchases book for 1 month. Okay, now we already have the credit entry for this double entry system. The other entry that we need to make is on the debit side, which is the purchases. Okay, because purchases increases on the debit side. So therefore, on the 30th of June 2020, the detail would be total or purchases of month. Okay, that's the total purchases of 1 month in June. Yeah, the whole transactions of purchases that the customers make in 1 month. Okay, leave the folio blank, and for the total amount, we just transfer this total amount. At this time, it's only 1. Yeah. To here, to the debit side for $150. So that's it. Yeah, double entry has completed. Yeah, we have the debit side and we have the credit side. So again, on your purchases book or your purchases journal, is just you only need to list the name of the supplier alongside with the date of the transactions and with the amount. Okay, you don't need to think about where to record it. For example, should I record it on the debit side or should I record it on the credit side? No, you don't need to think of that, because the double entry will take place in another ledger, yeah, which is this one, the supplier's account, as well as the purchases account. Okay, so that's for the purchases journal. Yeah, for this purchases journal. Now, sometimes when the customers buy items from the supplier, bad things happen. Yeah, for example, the goods are faulty, or the specification doesn't match, or even the supplier overcharged the customers. In that case, the customer needs to return the items that he bought in the first place. In order for the supplier to reduce the amount of the invoice that will be paid by the customer. So therefore, in order to do that, the customer issued the debit note. Yeah. To reduce the payment to the supplier, the customer needs to notify the supplier with the debit note. Yeah, debit note is a request from the customer to the supplier to reduce the amount of the invoice that will be paid by the customer. And then, based on this debit note, the supplier has been notified, and to acknowledge the debit note, the supplier will issue the credit note. Okay, the supplier will issue a credit note. After the credit note is issued, it will be then sent to one copy to the customer, and another copy will be kept by the supplier as a proof of these transactions, that the items that the customer bought in the first place has already been received. Okay, and then after the customer received the copy of this credit note, they will then record it on their purchases return book or purchases return journal. And same like purchases journal, the information contained in this purchases return journal is also the same: the supplier name, the value, and alongside with the date. Okay, now we're gonna have a look at this form of purchases return journal. Okay, and it will still look similar. Yeah, it will still look similar to the purchases journal or the purchases book. The only thing that differentiated is this. Previously, it was the invoice number, but now since we are dealing with since the customers is dealing with the items that return to the supplier, they will change the invoice number with the credit note number. Okay, so again, on page 83, 7.5 purchases returns journal number 1. When goods are returned to the credit supplier, you need to enter the date, the supplier name, and the credit note total. So, for example, the customer returned the items that he bought on the 7th of June 2020. Name of the supplier is PTA. Okay, and the credit number. Okay, the credit number is C. For example, C123 folio blank, and the amount that the customers returned to the supplier, let's just say, for example, is $10. Okay, so this is the amount, or this is the value of the items that the customer returns to the supplier. Okay, now the next step is we're gonna have to debit the supplier's account in the purchases ledger, yeah, based on this credit note. Okay, now since we know that the supplier's account PTA, we know previously it was a liabilities, and as you know that liabilities are increasing on the credit side. So therefore, if we put it on the debit side, it means that the liabilities from the customer to the PTA will be decreased. Yeah. So on the 7th of June 2020, details is purchases return. Yeah, purchases return. The amount is $10. So it means that the amount of the invoice that the supplier will charge to the customer will be decreased for $10. Okay. Now, and then at the end of the month, the same like previous, at the end of the month, credit the purchases returns account in the nominal ledger with the purchases returns journal total. Okay, now we're moving to the nominal ledger, which is the account of purchases return. Okay, now we have already have the debit account that have already debited, that is the PTA or the supplier's account, and then on the credit side it will be this purchases account. The total number, the total amount would be $10. Okay, date on the 30th of June 2020. Details is purchase return on a month. Okay, that will be $10. Okay, you just transfer the sum of this purchases book that you have to the purchases return account. So it's simply like that. Okay, now we have already know the concept behind the purchases journal and also the purchases return journal. Now the next step, I'm going to show you how exactly are we going to record this transaction based on the transaction on page 83, walkthrough 7.2. Okay, now we are in my Excel file, and I'm going to show you the step-by-step on how to record the transactions on walkthrough 7.2 on page 83 on your book. Okay, now let's see the transaction first. There are several transactions ranging from April 3rd to the 29th of April. Okay, and we're going to enter the 3rd of April first. Sue and Sue received an invoice for goods purchased from the weaving shed for $510 less a trade discount of 20%. Now on the 3rd of April, as a customer, Sue and Sue made a purchase to the weaving shed. Okay, it is indicated by the invoice that Sue and Sue received or the weaving shed issued. Okay, the name will be the name of your supplier, the weaving shed. Okay, as you can see, this one is a customer's name, the Sue and Sue, and this one is a weaving shed. And then we're going to input the invoice number, which is I3624. I36224. Okay, and the amount of the transaction is $510. But bear something in mind that you need to take 20% away from this $510 because the weaving shed is giving a trade discount for 20%. Therefore, we need to take 20% from $510, which resulted $408. Okay. Now we have already listed our first transactions. Next, we proceed to the double entry. Yeah. When we first proceed to the double entry, then we need to move to our customer's account, that is the weaving shed here. This is the purchases ledger or the weaving shed ledger or the weaving shed account. And like I told you before, that the supplier is the liabilities in here, because the customer make a purchase on credit from the supplier. Therefore, the liabilities, the customer's liabilities will increase. And then we just need to input it on this credit side for April 3rd. April 3rd, details is the purchases. Okay, and the amount is $408. Okay, so we can leave the debit entry for now, because it's only made at the end of the month. Next, we proceed to the next transaction on the 9th of April. Su and Su received a credit note from the weaving shed for goods returned list price $60. So it means that Su and Su somehow returned the items that he bought from the weaving shed because of these probably the things or the goods are broken, the description doesn't match, or stuff like that. Okay, so on the 9th of April, the name is weaving shed. This is the name of the supplier, because we need to know which supplier that you return your items to. Okay, the number of the credit note is C529. C529. The amount is $60, but since Su and Su received a discount of 20% when he first bought from weaving shed, then we need to take that 20% also from these items that Su and Su returned. That will be $48. The amount that Su and Su returned is $48. Okay, done for the transactions on the 9th of April. Next, we proceed to the next transaction, 24th of April. Su and Su received an invoice for goods purchased on credit from the Curtain Company for $280 less 15% trade discount. Again, Su and Su made the purchases, this time for another supplier that is called Curtain Company. Okay, on the 24th of April, Curtain Company, the invoice number should be I117. The invoice number is I117, and the amount is $280, but less 15% of the discount. That will be $238. Okay, this one is $238. Now proceed to the double entry. We go to the Curtain Company's ledger, same like the weaving shed that we have done it before, and we enter the date. That would be 24th of April. The detail is purchases. Purchases, and the amount is what is the amount again? $238. $238. Okay, now there you have it. Oh, I forget, on transaction on the 9th of April, yeah, purchases return journal, the Su and Su returned to weaving shed for $48. Therefore, we need to move to weaving shed account, and we put a debit entry on this, because we need to reduce the amount that the weaving shed will charge upon Su and Su. Okay, so we put this on the debit side first on the 9th of April because of the purchases return. Purchases return, and the amount would be $48. Okay, $48. So it means that Su and Su will not be charged $48, but instead it will be charged $48 minus $408 minus $48. That would be the final charge from the weaving shed to Su and Su. Okay, next proceed to the last transactions. On the 29th of April, Su and Su discovered that half of the goods purchased on 24th of April were faulty, and those goods were returned to the Curtain Company, who issued a credit note. Okay, we then enter our purchase return book, and we write this, the 29th of April, and the name of the company is the Curtain Company, and the credit note number would be C43. C43. 3, and the amount that Su and Su returned is half of the amount of Su and Su purchased on the 24th of April. Yeah, so you just divided by 2. The $238 divided by 2 will result in $119. Yeah, because half of the amount or half of the goods that he purchased were faulty. Yeah, that is broken or doesn't match the requirements. Okay, etc. Now we have already. Oh yeah, go to the current company then, and then put the debit entry on this current company's account. Yeah, to reduce the amount that the weaving shed will charge upon Su and Su. Okay, that would be the 29th of April, and this is the purchases return. The amount is $119. Okay, so we have completed our transactions now. Now we're going to make a final entry on our final double entry system. We headed to the purchases journal first, our purchases book first. As you can see, I have already totaled the number, yeah, because I have already made a formula so that it will be automatically summed up. And the number is $646, yeah, that will be transferred to the purchases account. This this value will be then transferred to purchases account here on the debit side. Yeah. Okay, I'll just paste the value here. Okay, on the 30th of April. Okay, this is the purchase of the month. And that will result in $646. So this is the double entry from the purchases journal. Yeah, we have the credit entry on the suppliers. Okay, now next we head to our purchases return book. Yeah, now it's worth up to $167. We then transfer this to the purchases return account at the end of the month, and here I will put it on the credit side because purchases return increases on the credit side, and this on the 30th of April details would be purchases return of the month. Okay, I'm so sorry for this miscolumn size. Okay, this is the purchase return of the month worth $167. So there you have it, the answer from walkthrough 7.2 and the step-by-step on how to record it on this book. Okay, so I hope this will be understood by all of you, and I hope it will be helpful for you to make it easier for you to understand through the assignments or through the talk test. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next meeting. Thank you and have a nice day.